Make sure to check us out on Letterboxd for written reviews.
for films that we've done not only on the podcast, but outside of the podcast too.
Links in the description below.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewatch podcast. My name is Jaden,
And my name is Samuel.
and this is a podcast where we talk extensively about a certain film and then decide whether they deserve a rewatch from you.
You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you listen to podcasts.
And if you enjoy the show, please leave a like on the YouTube video.
And if you'd like to reach the show, you can leave a comment on YouTube or send us an email at theonerewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Today, we're going to be talking about perhaps the most anticipated film of 2022. It is The Batman.
The Batman. Also, Season 3, everyone.
Welcome to Season
Welcome
3
to Season 3.
of the Rewatch Podcast.
We're kicking it off with another superhero film, as we do.
Oh, as you do. I mean, what better film to kick it off with arguably the most exciting film of this year already. We've knocked it out. The rest of the year is a dud. Just forget about it.
It feels like tradition to do a superhero film
A big one, yeah.
at the start of the season. I mean, we started with Into the Spider-Verse, which was huge. Then we moved on to the Snyder Cut, which is just as huge.
Big movie.
And now we're doing the Batman, which is hopefully going to reach those heights.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the people on Twitter would like to think it is. So let's get into it. You want to give us the story overview and
Yeah.
Yep.
In his second year of fighting crime, Batman uncovers corruption in Gotham City that connects to his own family while facing a serial killer known as the Riddler. I think that's a pretty good synopsis. It tells you this is second year Batman. He's not, he's not really fully new to the job. He's in his second year. He's sort of settling in now.
it's also not an origin story, which is they've made very clear from the minute this movie was announced.
Yep.
Was that it's not going to be an origin story because people are sick of seeing the Waynes being shot. And to that, I'll just say, I mean, there's one thing to not show the Waynes being shot, but to just sort of accept a Batman as he is already going to put this franchise at a disadvantage because we haven't seen the origin. We haven't been able to truly get connected to the Bruce Wayne before he becomes Batman, which, I mean, I know this franchise is going up and they've literally told Christopher Nolan, or someone told Christopher Nolan, they're trying to rival the Dark Knight trilogy here. I think they've already made the crucial mistake of not doing the origin.
Okay.
But I think Matt Reeves just wasn't interested in doing the origin.
Yeah, well, I think you've got a pretty serious problem with that when it comes to origin stories and how they should be including these very relevant aspects. I mean, you had a problem with
Tom Holland's
MCU,
Spider-Man,
in terms of not including Ben Parker's death.
Well, yeah, at least, I mean, you don't even really need to include that, but you certainly need to tie it to his motivation, to Spider-Man's motivation. So, and I'm not saying this film doesn't do that. I'm just saying, to not do an origin story as your first movie is a very bold move.
Yep.
And a lot of the DC animated movies there's just Batman stories and they start and Batman's in his prime. And those movies also suffer from not connecting you to the characters very well. So I think, let's not jump into the review straight away, but I think that's a very bold decision for Matt Reeves to go, I don't want to do an origin story. Let's just get right into it.
No,
but
then, understood, yeah.
In saying that, getting right into it, year 2, I mean, that's hardly getting right into it. This isn't a Batman in his prime yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it would be interesting to have a chat with Matt Reeves about why he didn't want to start from year 0.
Yep.
But then start at year 2.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to do an origin story because you just want to set up the Batman and go, then maybe year 5, 6, 7,
Yep.
instead of 2. But
Yep.
oh well.
Yep.
All right. Where were we?
Where were we after your
Little rant there.
obnoxiously long rant?
Yes. My bad.
No, you're all good. Look, Matt Reeves, he's done some pretty good stuff in the past. I know we're both big fans. I'm probably a bigger fan of his sort of ape duology he's got going on there with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah. I love both of those movies. I think they're fantastic.
I think they're good. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're... I didn't love them, but I still enjoyed watching them. Incredible visual effects. That's worth watching them just for that. So
I think the tone of the Batman is really sampled from those previous works of his.
That's a good
especially War for the Planet of the Apes.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's if you haven't seen War for the Planet of the Apes, if you haven't seen the whole new Planet of the Apes trilogy, go watch it if you're a fan of the Batman. I think you'll really find that you like Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes.
Most likely.
He's also done Cloverfield, which I haven't seen, but I've heard really good things about.
I've wanted to check that out.
Yep.
I know J.J. Abrams is attached, so that's why I'm a bit...
That's why you're a bit hesitant.
Because, J.J. Abrams is a terrible filmmaker.
Tends to mess up everything.
But, it is Matt Reeves, and apparently it is quite good, so I would like to check it out.
Yeah. Okay, so do we just want to jump into some general thoughts?
Yeah, we'll stay spoiler-free. So, regarding whether we'd recommend this film to someone who has not seen it, I've actually been asked this question a lot.
Yep.
By various people who aren't really connected to the whole comic book stuff. Should I go see this movie? It really depends on how you feel about superheroes.
Yep.
If you're interested in superheroes, you're going to go and see this movie. It's not a question. You're going to go and see it.
Yep.
But for the people who are on the fringe, I don't know, man. It's almost 3 hours, and that's not a complaint on my behalf. I'll happily sit through 2 hours and 50 minutes of Batman. But to a general audience member, it's a big investment. You can almost see 2 other movies in that sort of
time.
So yeah, I mean, it really, really depends. It's quite a hard recommendation for me because people who are fans of Batman have already gone to see the movie.
Yep.
And so yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's not fun and lively like the MCU. So if you're not a superhero fan, you're probably going to enjoy the MCU more just because it's humorous and the light-hearted tone.
The MCU movies are more geared towards that general audience, which is one of the reasons why they're so successul. But this is going all in terms of this is a detective dark story. There's little jokes.
Yep. I think this is also very... It dives into a lot of Batman aspects that a lot of people won't understand. That they won't get who...
Carmine Falcone.
Yeah, they won't understand those characters.
Yeah.
And they're not slap in your face, oh, this is a clear character like the Penguin. He's not clear that he's like the Penguin.
Right. He's not walking around with a beak or whatever.
Yeah. So they might not understand who the different characters are, and they might have a hard time sort of connecting with them. But in saying that, I do think everyone should go see this movie because it is one of the greatest, modern day detective films that we've seen in quite some time. It's absolutely just skyrocketed in my eyes.
I have recommended. I don't think I've told anybody to not go and see it, but it really does depend on your
taste,
preferences, and your taste. So.
What I really want, actually, I really enjoy the tone of this movie. I'm big into neo-noir sort of thriller detective mysteries. I would love a Spider-Man noir film like this.
Oh, that would be cool.
It would be so cool.
Yeah.
All set in the black and white.
Yeah. That would be interesting. Is Marvel that artsy though?
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
It definitely is inspired. I mean, I've heard this so many times. Inspired by Zodiac, inspired by Seven.
Huge inspiration from Seven.
Yeah, just in terms of and Zodiac as well, in terms of what Riddler's doing and the unraveling of the mystery, and it's a very detective based film because Batman is supposed to be the world's greatest detective, and we haven't seen him do a lot of detective work. However, you know, I've heard that being thrown around a lot, but Batman does do detective work in The Dark Knight, and I don't think he does any in The Dark Knight Rises, but he definitely has a moment in The Dark Knight where he analyzes some things and goes to some crime scenes. But I do get the criticism that, you know, he's supposed to be this really smart detective, but we just haven't got that in a lot of films. But that's also because, you know, the last time we saw Batman, he's fighting alongside Wonder Woman and Flash. You know, he's not going to take a moment to assess the Steppenwolf crime scene.
And I do enjoy that they made this a Batman film. You know, there's no Justice League inclinations going on here. It's really a solo film, which I do enjoy.
That prompts me a question that I might ask you later on. I'm just going to note that down.
I think I might know what you're going to.
Because this movie does stand on its own. It is not connected to anything else as of yet. I do believe there'll be a number of spin-offs and probably at least 2 more movies. But the last movie that stands alone is in the DC world is Joker, and that's one of the most successful DC films for quite a while. And I don't think this will top Joker in the box office, purely just because of the circumstances. But yeah, it has prompted a question that I will ask you later on when we finish up. So, are you going to go and rewatch this film, Jaden?
Of course I am. I probably should have seen it again before doing this. But you know, you just don't have the time sometimes.
It is 3 hours as well.
It is 3 hours. But that's not a complaint, as we've already raised. It's we enjoy that it's 3 hours long. Look, I will be seeing this again, hopefully in the near future. And whether, you know, my rating goes up or down, it could go either way. I must say though, on the first watch, I did thoroughly enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure that's clear on both ends from us.
Yeah. I went in with very high expectations. I don't know how I felt when I think I was just very tired or something. I didn't vibe with the movie the first time. I have rewatched it since, and I did. You know, I heard somebody say this, and it's completely encapsulates how I feel. Like the first time you watch a movie, you watch it in relation to your expectations. You watch the movie you expect, and the second time you just watch the movie. You put your expectations aside. You accept what you've been given, and then you get to see it and think, okay, do I actually like what I've been given here, or did I just expect something else? So I think watching it a second time has made me, you know, like it a bit more. But then I also see a lot of flaws that I want to get into. So, and then a lot of the discussion that has arisen around this film has really, really annoyed me. So I want to get into some of those topics as well. But without further ado, let's jump into some of the acting and the characters, remaining spoiler-free. Obviously, we have the great man himself, Robert Pattinson, as he is affectionately known on the Rewatch podcast. Pronounced Pattinson, just to clarify. What did you think of old mate as Bruce Wayne Batman?
Yeah, I loved him. I think I've never been on the Robert Pattinson sort of
hype train.
No, like the dislike train.
Oh, okay.
You know, he's widely hated as an actor, which sucks, man, because the dude's got mad potential.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen Twilight.
Maybe it's because I just didn't grow up watching Twilight. Maybe that's the reason. But no, I think he's a fantastic actor. I mean, in Good Time, he was amazing. He was fantastic in Tenet as well.
Yes, I agree.
I think I've probably seen him in some more stuff as well that I just can't remember. I know you've seen him in The Lighthouse.
Oh, yeah, he's great in that.
But yeah, I mean, he was born to play this sort of emo second-year Batman, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I love his sort of child, sort of like, he's like mid-20s, sort of probably early 20s Batman, Bruce Wayne. He's still trying to figure out where he lies in terms of his family. He's still trying to cope with the death of his parents. He's like seriously like distraught. And I just love the look of his character, like the long black hair, how he has like the makeup around his eyes. You don't see that a lot in the Batman films. In fact,
Well, you don't see it at all.
you don't see it all.
They just don't admit that it exists.
Yeah, but no, this is really cool. The fact that like when he takes off the helmet, you can see like the mascara around his eyes. That's really cool.
That was definitely a choice that they made.
Yep.
Definitely a choice.
Yep, and good on them for doing that. As for Batman, I mean, it's phenomenal performance, man. He doesn't have a lot of lines in this movie, which I really appreciate. I think that kind of added towards his sort of aesthetic that he was going for. Just an incredible performance. I think he was made for the role. Yep.
Yeah, I enjoyed him as well. I think his Bruce Wayne left a bit to be desired at some points. Just felt very samey to his Batman. But I feel like that's what they were sort of going for at this stage, which is, I'm still kind of disappointed because Robert Pattinson is like such a great actor and he could really give a great performance as Bruce Wayne. And I feel like what he was going for, he nailed. Like what he was told to do, he nailed. But I think the problem is what he was told to do. I think the way the story's written in terms of like Bruce Wayne is Batman, Batman is Bruce Wayne. Like it's just Batman, like Batman. Like takes the mask off, he's still Batman. Like he's not acting differently.
Yep.
But then there is also not like an emotional sort of, you don't really connect to Bruce Wayne in this movie as much as you do with Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. So I think that is not really Pattinson's fault. I think that's probably the director's fault.
What's your problem? The fact that
my problem is that when he takes the mask off, he's still Batman.
Still Batman.
Like, and he's walking around that funeral scene, for instance.
Yep.
And he's Batman without the suit.
Yep.
And for me, one of the most interesting parts of Batman is the Bruce Wayne side.
Okay.
It's like with Spider-Man. The Peter Parker's very interesting as well. And so if you do a good Spider-Man story, it's going to have a good Peter Parker story and a good Spider-Man story. So that duality is very important. And I think that is something they will develop. But I think they decided that they didn't want to do that yet. This Bruce Wayne is just like so uninterested in being a distraction in terms of like distracting people from the fact that he's Batman. Like he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting.
But I think that was intentional. I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it's by accident that Pattinson played Batman when he took off the costume. I think that's exactly what they were going for. It's just I feel like if they did it a bit slightly differently, I would have connected more to the Bruce Wayne part of the story, which there isn't a lot of Bruce Wayne's story.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure this will be something that they build on in the other movies in terms of like how he has to develop a persona. But I mean, think of the Dark Knight scene where Christian Bale's sitting at the dinner table with Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent's talking about how, what he needs to do to save the city. Yep. And you see Bruce Wayne, his Playboy mask sort of slips.
Yep.
And you can see him like really, empathizing and seeing Harvey as a hero. That's the sort of stuff that makes Batman so good.
Yep.
Like, because he's a hero, but like he's a brooding, like depressed sort of hero. But deep down, he has good intentions and he wants to do good. And so that's like his true form. But I feel like we didn't get to see those layers yet.
Understand, I get where you're coming from in terms of that. But I'm sort of on the fence about that. I know you're aware that it was an intentional decision to sort of blur the line between Batman and Bruce Wayne in this, and I think that's because it's so early on into his Batman career.
Yeah.
Like we said before, he's still dealing with the death of his parents. So he doesn't really want to be Bruce Wayne anymore. He wants to be Batman.
And that's a decision they made.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Batman Begins, that's an origin story, but then he's going to dinner with the girls and he's doing this distraction part. So they just left that I think it's going to be in the future installments. Yeah.
And I don't think it would have worked in this movie for him to be
probably
Playboy.
not. Probably because of the tone. Yeah. You're right.
So I think that decision probably worked in favor of it.
Sure.
But I understand where you're coming from in terms of you want to see the split tone.
Because Pattinson's such a great actor, and I want to see that scene where we see the real, like, the hero without the mask on, if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, the scene in The Dark Knight where Christian Bale's just walking along and he just beats up a Joker thug and he doesn't even have the suit on. He just like throws the gun in his face.
Yeah.
He walks up to the Joker goon and he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do, Playboy?" And he just like,
Yeah.
dismantles him in a few punches.
Yeah.
Like that's the sort of stuff I would like to see Pattinson do, because in this he was sort of just like a goth, like emo dude, which I completely vibe with. Like it's a choice and I like it. But I would like to see that be built up into the next movies.
And I think that makes sense as he gets older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. What are your thoughts?
Really liked her. I haven't actually. This is probably going to stir up a bit of a conversation between any viewers. I haven't seen any other Catwoman iterations in live action.
Except Anne Hathaway.
Except Anne Hathaway, true. Honestly, I probably prefer Zoe Kravitz. Anne Hathaway sort of played this more techie version. Zoe Kravitz's character in this is actually really, really well developed. We see her sort of origin story with her sister, and how her sister sort of gets...
Her sister?
I think it's her sister. Because in the Batman Year One comic, in the Batman Year One film, remember how she's like taken care of?
Oh, right.
I think it's her sister, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed her character. I think her costume was alright.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the open area around here. Like it felt like
mask.
Yeah.
The homemade mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the homemade mask, but I didn't like the fact that it was one open eye area. Like it didn't have
You
a
can see a
seam
lot.
down the middle.
Right.
I think Catwoman's mask in general is just stupid. I mean, what's the point of it? Like you can easily tell who it is.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can see like a big proportion of the
It's
eyes.
like Michelle Pfeiffer's. Like, why even wear it? Like,
Yeah,
so much of her face is uncovered.
That's true. I mean, look at Anne Hathaway. She's just wearing like a
gala mask, like a
Yeah.
masquerade sort of thing. Yeah, look, without going too much into costuming, we'll deal on that later. Zoe Kravitz was fantastic. I think she did a great performance. Yeah.
Thoughts on the villain without getting too spoilery? Paul Dano. We've seen him in Prisoners.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously took inspiration from Prisoners, and he took inspiration from Seven.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the costume is pretty similar to the actual Zodiac killer's costume in terms of wearing like a bag and then glasses over the top.
Oh, right.
I think that's what...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what the Zodiac killer actually used to do. And then like an emblem on his chest. I think the Riddler has like a question mark on his chest as well.
Right.
Yeah, look, for anyone that's wondering, is he better than Heath Ledger? No. Is your definitive answer there?
Because nobody can be.
Yeah, I mean...
Why would you even consider that?
Yeah.
Why would people even say that?
But Paul Dano, he sort of... He has this sense of presence about him in the movie. And sometimes you sort of... You think like, okay, maybe he's starting to make sense.
Oh, yeah, I think he's got a pretty good motivation.
Yeah, and I think the way that he goes about his whole plan, it genuinely might make sense sometimes in terms of his final goal and what he wants to do to Gotham. Yeah, I mean,
until like the last 30 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, and you feel like it could go either way. Like Batman could stop him, he could end up doing his final plan.
Right.
You never really know until the final minutes. And the stakes are big. He has pretty big stakes.
Yeah.
I think he plays Edward Nashton better than he does the Riddler. So when he's in human form,
when he doesn't have the mask
when he doesn't have the mask on and he's playing this sort of lunatic dude,
right.
I think that's pretty cool. And clearly he's sourced from Prisoners there in terms of
oh, definitely
that character.
Yeah, I think Matt Reeves would have watched Prisoners and gone, this is my guy. But yeah, I'm actually the opposite. I liked him a lot more when he had the mask on. I thought he was really intimidating. But then as soon as he took it off, I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of see the performance here.
Yep.
Like I can kind of see that he's trying to put on a bit of a show. But yeah, I still enjoyed him. I thought he was good. He's certainly not the worst comic book movie villain we've had in the past 3 or 5 years. So Yeah, he was good. He was good. But I wouldn't say he's great, and I wouldn't say that he's like anywhere near Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
Not for lack of trying though.
Yeah.
Got to give credit. Where credit
Valiant
is due.
attempt.
Visuals. Oh my god, Greg Fraser from June did the cinematography for this movie, and it is bloody gorgeous.
Yep.
It is.
Fantastic.
It's on the same budget as Black Widow, but then
I think it's less.
it's the figure's been going all over the place, man. Warner Bros. And their bloody statistics. They like to manipulate that sort of stuff.
Okay, well, even if it's still the same, I mean,
Yeah.
it blows it out of the water.
Well, yeah, it's like one of the best looking comic book movies ever, I think. It would be up there with Joker. It would be up there with the Dark Knight trilogy. Just great stuff. You can see they've used practical stuff whenever they can.
Yep.
But even the visual effects were really, really good.
Yep. Before we jump into more of the crew, I just wanted to touch on Jeffrey Wright's character.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, Jeffrey Wright just absolutely kills Commissioner Gordon.
You think?
Yeah, man, he's like one of the best parts of the movie. How he sort of plays this more anchored side to the Batman. He's sort of, if he wasn't there for Batman would be like a complete lunatic. He'd be losing his mind.
Yeah, I guess.
So they sort of team up along the way.
Yeah.
Good cop, bad cop sort of vibes going on. But yeah, Jeffrey Wright, man, he's clearly one of the standouts in terms of the supporting cast. I think he was fantastic in this.
Sometimes I thought with his performance, he sort of like got too into it. Like, for instance, when he's talking to Batman in one of the scenes, I can like almost see what he was trying to do in terms of his line delivery. He was just the way he turned. He's like, "So you think so and so moonlights with the Penguin?" And he like moves his head around in a weird way, and like does his voice, and I can sort of see like, oh, okay, Jeffrey Wright's gone, okay, so I'm going to move my head this way, move my head that way, and then I'm going to squint a bit. Like, and I don't know, maybe we've just had Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon, and he's been like bloody phenomenal. And so now it's like I have very high standards for Jim Gordon. But yeah, I don't know, I sort of like saw the... I kind of think I saw
the acting.
Saw the acting, yeah. Which I don't know. I thought he was good as well. He doesn't really have like much of a character like he does in the Dark Knight trilogy, like because they do have a bit of subplots with you know, his wife and divorcing him and all that. So that he's just sort of there whenever Batman needs him.
I think we've got a pretty good run in terms of Jim Gordon's there.
We've got a pretty good run in terms of just Batman in general, like just in terms of, well, ever since Batman Begins. We've had like a great run of Batman villains, Batman costumes, Batman this, that, and the other, you know? Batman's been eating good. Batman fans, you know, they're well provided for, that is for sure. What do you want to go to next?
Andy Serkis.
Oh, yeah?
There's a few characters that we won't touch on just in terms of spoilers. Andy Serkis, I think he kind of got screwed on the screen time a bit. I hope to see more of him.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, we didn't get to see much of him, so I can't really speak on his performance. But I think he's a good sort of role model for Bruce Wayne.
Did you think he was like a bit young?
Well, when you compare him to like Michael Caine, yes, but
Jeremy Irons,
you have to take into account that this Batman's pretty young. So in hindsight,
yeah, I guess that is true.
Andy Serkis is also going to be young. But Andy Serkis is just like a good-looking guy for his age. Like
that's true. He's got a nice haircut as well.
He does have a nice
haircut. He's got like a very modern haircut for someone of his age. He's got like the slick back, short on the side, sort of going. Like, and but yeah, he's like, he comes in like he has like a waddle. He's got like a walking stick. He looks like he's been to war and shit. But like we never given any reason as to why. Why that, like why he is the way he is, and like what the history there is. I think again we're just supposed to accept that this is Alfred. You know who Alfred is. Like this is Alfred. He has like 5 minutes screen time. It's kind of outrageous. with an actor like Andy Serkis, how little
Yeah.
screen time he has.
Yeah, yeah. I would have liked more from them, but and with 3 hours, maybe they could have dived into it a bit more. But I think we'll see more of him in the future.
Oh, certainly, yeah. But yeah, it's not really this is a very much a Batman story and not a Bruce Wayne story, because a Bruce Wayne, if you want to tell a Bruce Wayne story, you need Bruce Wayne to talk. Who's he going to talk to? He's going to talk to Alfred.
Yep.
Alfred is his moral compass in many ways, and he's also his connection to his parents and all of that. So if you take Alfred out of the film, you're going to take Bruce Wayne out of the film as well. So they only have maybe 3 scenes together,
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Very
few.
In such a long movie, it just sort of feels like Alfred was a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah.
But obviously Matt Reeves loves working with Andy Serkis, and he's a great actor, so hopefully he gets more to do in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Just lastly, Colin Farrell. I'll let you take this because I think you have more thoughts on him than I do.
Yeah, I think it's almost odd what they do with makeup nowadays. They take like this very attractive Hollywood actor or actress, and they just like cake them in makeup and make them look like a completely different person.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't you just get an old, fat, white man to be Penguin, like and then
Ivan Dreykov
and then,
from
like-
Black Widow.
and like just make him look a bit ugly.
Yeah.
Like it's very odd, but regardless, you cannot see Colin Farrell
Through this.
in the makeup.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is great, and it should win awards.
Yeah.
But I thought his performance was and should be the best part about his involvement in the film, because a lot of people will just go, "Oh, look at that makeup, it's so good," and then they'll forget that like the dude like sounds completely different.
He's Irish.
Well, yeah, and like just the mannerisms.
Yep.
Every time he was on screen, he was very magnetic. Performance was great.
Yep.
I mean, if you've ever seen clips of the Penguin in Batman Returns, it's bloody ridiculous.
Yeah, is
But,
it
like,
Danny DeVito? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a complete joke, and looks so disturbing though. But this is like this is just a man who has the nickname the Penguin, who like is just a gangster, and like
Yeah.
it looks very ugly.
Which is cool, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I love the fact that
Down
he's
there.
just like a gangster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the standout for me in this movie though was Carmine Falcone. He was the most intimidating villain for me. Like not the Riddler, not the Penguin. It was Carmine Falcone.
I didn't know whether we wanted to go into that, but
Well, yeah, I'll just say that for now. But yeah, I'll also say a lot of times we say superhero movies that have more than one villain. No, don't
Yeah.
do that. You're stupid.
yeah.
But they actually did it here, so you know
Yeah, I mean that's pretty. Yeah, they did.
they
You got a few in here. Yeah.
yeah. But they all serve a different purpose in the story. They don't
Yeah.
all team up to fight Batman at the end.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, yeah.
But whatever. We'll get to that.
Yep.
In terms of sound, what did you think of the sound design in this movie?
I've actually got a problem with this in terms of sound design, and I think I've mentioned this to you already. Obviously, the score's pretty good. I think we both enjoyed that from Michael Giacchino. But if we're talking about sound design, some of the dialogue I just couldn't pick up, and I don't know whether that's an issue of Robert Pattinson's
Voice.
Batman voice, or whether they probably should have adjusted the levels.
Right.
But sometimes I just couldn't understand what he was saying, and same goes with the Riddler. And I think the mask
Yeah.
didn't help with that at all.
Muffled. He sounds a bit like Bane, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it's not clear like Bane, you know? Like Bane's
Yeah,
voice is still clear. This was
It's very
pretty
muffled
unclear.
because it's like behind his mask.
Yeah, like sometimes I felt like I wanted subtitles because I couldn't understand what was going on.
Bro, imagine if this was a Christopher Nolan movie.
Oh my god.
You wouldn't hear the end of it.
You wouldn't.
Like, if you can't hear one line, goodness me, Twitter will be talking about it for the next year.
Yeah.
Like, Tenet hardly gets talked about in any other context now.
Yeah.
It's like so unfortunate.
Yeah, because it's
such
a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, people were like, oh no, I couldn't hear this line, so now I'm gonna just, talk about the sound mixing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, the score was good. I did enjoy it. We'll touch a bit more on that in detail later on. Any other non-spoiler thoughts before we dive into some things?
Well, I don't really know what you're going to touch on, but obviously we've both pretty much given the stamp of you should give it a rewatch.
Yeah. What do you think of the Batsuit?
Okay, we'll do that now.
That's a non-spoiler, right? It's in
Okay,
the trailers.
we'll do that now. Obviously, I'm just going to flat out say it's my favourite Batsuit that I've seen so far. I think there is minor adjustments that they should be making, but I love the design of it, man. It's like sort of techie, sort of like homemade, stitched together. I love the gauntlets on his arms. I love the collar for his cape. Like it's sort of like a raised collar.
I like how the cape starts at the chest piece and it sort of goes up over his collarbones and down.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Because it usually just starts from the shoulders below.
Yeah.
But that was cool.
I love the bat symbol, how it's like implanted in his chest. So cool, man. I love like how it looks like plates. It's not like Kevlar like it is with Bales, but it's like this homemade, just he's put together just random parts to make the suit. He wears like just regular boots.
Yeah.
Man, it's so cool.
It's cool. Do you think they should change the suit going forward?
Yeah, I'd like slight edits. Mainly because if we see Bruce Wayne grow up, then we should see the Batsuit evolve at the same time. Right. I do think they need to edit the cowl a bit. I think it's probably a bit weird in terms of his forehead and the dimensions.
Yes, that is weird. If you're listening to this podcast, Google a poster of the Batman, and all you need to do, I'm sorry, I'll do this and you'll never be able to look at it the same way again, but just look at his forehead. Just focus on his forehead and see how huge the forehead is.
Ridiculously big.
Yeah. So the suit, the cowl must, like, there must be a thickness to it because there's no way that it just ends and it's like flush to his skull because his head's not that big.
His head is massive.
Yeah. So that's weird. And the ears are sort of like quite far back as well. So it makes me think that the cowl is like bigger than his head. But because it's so like tight around the neck, we assume that it's tight around the head, but it must not be. It must have a bigger sort of.
Yeah.
But I do really like the ears.
I love the ears.
The ears,
like
very
the
pointy,
short
very
ears.
pointy, very nice.
Very nice.
Like I love the shots where the camera is behind Batman and you get to sort of come up and you see the ears. Oh, beautiful.
I can't get over the cape, man. I'm in love with the cape and like the raised collar. I'm just looking at the photo now. It looks so good.
Yeah, it is a great looking suit, and I mean, we saw that in that very first trailer where we have that shot of him walking towards the camera. It's so nice.
And just for the viewers out there, The Dark Knight is my favorite movie of all time. So for me to say that this is my favorite Batman suit is a bold statement.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, we will now head into spoiler territory. So, spoiler alert. The starting sequence of this movie is, in my opinion, the best scene in this movie.
Yep.
And that is, we have a bit of Riddler horror elements where the mayor is getting murdered by the Riddler.
This is so cool, man. This is so cool.
The Riddler sort of just appears behind him in the darkness and then just waits there, which is just so good.
It's so chilling, man.
You know that he's there, and they show you that he's there, and then they cut away from him. They just show you the mayor, and you're like, oh, he's there. It's the great tension. You can tell Matt Reeves has done horror movies before because that is a horror scene right there. The only problem is, as soon as Riddler comes out and bashes the dude on the head, the camera is not interested anymore. The camera's not interested because they've got to get that M rating. Yeah. Would have loved an MA, but...
I would have loved an R, man.
Well, they wouldn't have gone... Well, for the Americans, it would have been R, but for us, I mean, Deadpool's MA, so...
Yeah. I would have loved an R. An R Batman film. We haven't gotten it. And obviously that's just because they want to make it as widespread as possible.
Yeah, but I don't think... If I had kids, I wouldn't take them to see this movie. This is not a kids-friendly movie. This is way too dark.
As it stands now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the kids aren't going to go and like this movie. This is for,
I think it's too complex.
This is from like 15 up, I reckon.
Yeah.
And as in 15 years old up. And so, I don't know. I don't think kids are going to go see it and like it. So why wouldn't you just like bump the rating up? Like Joker had
Yeah.
MA,
Yeah.
and it did great. So why not do it for the Batman? But maybe Batman is the prize jewel for Warner Bros. And they don't want to touch him. But
I think that's another issue that we had with it is the fact that it just continually censored itself throughout the whole movie, and like we've said, it's because of the rating. So there's scenes where we're in a car and the Riddler's in the back seat.
Yeah.
So cool, man.
Halloween reference.
Yeah, and he goes to sort of hit this guy over the head, like the DA of the police office, and the camera just goes blurry and you can't see anything. It's like, show us that, man.
Yeah, it was a bit frustrating. Because these movies like Seven and Zodiac, they are higher ratings.
Yeah, well, I think they both are.
Yeah, so then you can have those impactful murder scenes, and but regardless, I Am the Shadows, that opening sequence with that introduction to Batman, the score, the camera work, the criminals that are being like bloody scared of Batman, looking into the shadows. We see
That's so cool.
We see the shadows. Is Batman there? No, he's not.
No.
Is Batman there? No, he's not. Is Batman there? Oh, yeah, he is. Here he comes. You can hear his footsteps. Oh, brilliant introduction. A+.
Yep.
That first maybe 30 minutes.
I was so excited in those first 30 minutes, man. And you got the massive Joker sort of title screener. It's like, Batman.
The Batman.
And like I was so excited, and then we get the whole Riddler introduction, and then you get Batman's introduction, like we just touched on.
Yeah.
And just how like it just shows how like terrified the criminals are.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, just I wouldn't say it, but some word scared.
Yeah.
You can infer what I'm saying from that. Yeah, I mean, Pattinson's monologuing in this is just fantastic.
Yeah, it was very Year One-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah. But obviously it's not taken from Year One. There's really no definitive inspiration here.
There's all sorts.
He sorts from everything, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that opening introduction, and then how he just sort of comes out of the shadow eventually.
I think he had what is the term with the cowboy boots? How they walk out and it's
Spurs.
Yes, I think they added a bit of those.
Yeah.
I don't think he didn't have them in the movie, but like they did this with Boba Fett in Star Wars. They like added it in later on because like he walks and it's like there's like a. It's not just his footsteps. It's like a it's like a cowboy coming out, but like it's not just a cowboy. It's a tank of a cowboy that's just coming out. And a lot of times, this movie felt like a western in some ways, with Batman walking, towards the camera with the cape flowing in the wind, and so yeah, I really love that entrance, man. And then the whole "I'm Vengeance" and that dude just getting absolutely messed up,
which you don't see.
Yeah,
because he's out of the camera frame.
Yeah.
And can I just touch on the rain in this movie, man? Like it's continually raining throughout.
Blade Runner-esque.
Yeah, and the aesthetic of it is just so cool, man.
Gotham City is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way they've captured Gotham City so far.
I agree.
Gotham City looks fantastic in this.
Yeah. Which has given me faith going forward because they've done that right.
Yep.
Like, they've got the setting perfectly.
Yep.
Like, so now it's just we don't have to change anything. We've got it right. Let's just continue doing that. It feels so much like the DC animated movies because they have the liberty with the architecture to make it, sort of gothic and put the gargoyles there and make it this whole sort of unique design. And I know they filmed some of this in Scotland, some of it in Liverpool, and just beautiful setting.
And I think one of the problems I have with Nolan's films and Snyder's films is the fact that Gotham tends to feel like New York or Chicago,
right,
or like a city that's in our lives, so we can say, oh, this just looks like it's set in New York.
Yeah.
But this genuinely feels like a new setting. It genuinely feels like Gotham, and it feels like Gotham from the Arkham games, which I absolutely love those games.
Yeah, and I love also how, Batman or Selina Kyle, whoever it is, they walk into, the clubs and, they see all these corrupt officials.
Yep.
and all of the gangsters. Like, I love that mob element
Yep.
of some of the DC animated movies, and Carmine Falcone was just exceptional for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just loved walking around that environment and just seeing how corrupt everyone is,
Yep.
how people treat each other just like absolute dirt. And here Batman is, you know, looking like an absolute psychopath, trying to like do better.
Yep.
But like he's just running around beating dudes to the pulp.
Yep.
And so this whole tone is just so miserable
Love
and
the
dark.
tone. Love the tone.
And just I want to bring up a review later on about this movie that is just completely like just so symbolic of like the state of critics, because this movie, it knows that it's dark, and that's the point. It's Batman.
Yep.
You know, this is a dark, brooding movie. This is what everyone wants from a Batman movie. You can't take James Bond, make it into an action comedy with, you know, no stakes,
Yep.
and he's cracking jokes all the time, and you can't do that. It's got to be, you got to make it slightly serious.
Yep.
You can have jokes and levity and stuff, but you go into a Batman movie with expectations. The expectation isn't that you're going to have a bloody Spider-Man No Way Home fun experience.
Well, it's a shame we'll never get that from the MCU. The MCU is never going to do that. They're never going to go full on dark. I mean, Multiverse of Madness was their one opportunity to do that.
Supposedly a horror film.
They have labeled it as a horror film, but it's not going to be anywhere near as dark and brooding as this. And it's a shame because the MCU characters, some of them need that. They need that darkness, and the MCU is just going to be saying, no, we need jokes in our movies, so we're not going to go full on 100% dark tone. And I feel like that's why I like DC more, is because
They take their characters seriously.
they know the tone of the character. They know which tone sits with the character. There's like one or two jokes in this whole movie, and they're good because they're
smart jokes.
they're smart jokes, and they're not just constantly on the nose, just everywhere. They're not scattered everywhere. It happens in the right moment, and it sucks that the MCU is just just doesn't understand the fact that tone is so important.
Yeah. Well, let me read this review. This is how the MCU has broken movie critics. Okay, so this is coming from Deborah Ross on Rotten Tomatoes, officially the worst critics site in the history of critics sites. Now, important to note here that this is a top critic. Okay, so we're dealing with somebody who's a top critic. Okay, so their opinion it's a top opinion.
Yep. Listen to these people.
Exactly. There is shuddering set piece after set piece with nothing innovative of note. Usually you do, at least, get jokes between the action sequences. But this is so humorless and deadly serious, you don't even get that. And she gave it a rotten score. So that's below 50, so she didn't like it. But she says it's humorless and deadly serious.
What do you think the tone was going for? Like, how could you be so obnoxious about...
This is the state of modern moviegoers, and this is the damage the MCU has done, because we can't go an hour without a quippy joke. This is a bloody Batman movie. This is serious stuff. If you don't like it, nobody told you, nobody forced you to watch it. You're a movie critic. Your job is to watch movies. And she's obviously gone into this movie with a certain expectation that she's going to have some fun. It's going to be a fun time. Well,
Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's Batman.
This is taking itself very seriously, and if you don't like that, that is completely okay.
What did she infer from the trailers, man? Like, what did she think was going to happen? Of course it's going to be a dark movie.
Yeah. She's living in the 1960s when Batman was,
Adam West.
standing around on jetties saying, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
And just like...
and fighting sharks.
Fighting sharks on... Yeah.
And...
It sucks that that's what the comic book genre has been labelled as, is you need humour in your movies.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think this movie has some very funny moments.
Yep.
They're very smart moments. Like, for instance, Batman punching Jim Gordon, and then later on, Jim Gordon says, "You could have at least pulled that punch," and Batman's like, "I
I
did."
did. Or like
like-
when he's like thumb drive.
Yeah, thumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And even the physical humor of the camera will follow a police officer as he's walking around, and suddenly Batman's there, just standing there, and it's like he hits a brick wall. It's
Yeah.
like the camera just stops at Batman. It's like this immovable force, and the police officer's like, "Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm just gonna go around."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Batman's just standing there like brooding.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there is humor. You just have to like. It's not just, you know, Batman.
Let's Scooby Doo this crap. It's not that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like the Dark Knight trilogy. You know, there are funny lines in the Dark Knight. You know, nice car. You should see my other one.
Yeah.
Like that's good Batman humor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but we're not going to, you know, shout at the villain halfway through the battle. Is that all you got? And then
Yeah.
they send in some more bad guys, and then
Goons.
Catwoman's like, "You really had to say that, didn't you, Batman?"
Yeah.
Like, that's not the sort of humor we're dealing with here, okay? We're not making quips and making light of the situation. The
Yeah.
humor in this movie, what it does is it provides relief,
Yeah.
but it doesn't detract from the seriousness of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
These are jokes that might just occur in normal interactions.
Yep.
You know, they're just smart ass comments
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yep. And
You got a lot of cats.
yeah. Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. Can I just like say as well is the fact that like we're not trashing on the MCU here. It might come across as that.
Yeah.
The point we're trying to make is the fact that the MCU has developed this trait of humor is essential in comic book films. It's not, and that's why Sam brought up this review. That the MCU has left this impact, and it's unfortunate that it has. If Marvel wants to go that route with their characters, that's fine.
Just don't expect the same thing of another property. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even related.
Yeah.
So, in terms of scenes in this movie, what scenes stood out to you? What scenes did you really enjoy?
I've actually heard a lot of people that didn't like this. The car chase sequence. I've seen reviews that said that the cinematography was sloppy and
Right.
that they couldn't sort of figure out what was going on.
Right.
I think it was shot fantastically.
Right. I think I'm in the middle there
You're in the middle?
because I agree.
Yeah.
Some of the shots, especially when the camera was like placed on the back of the car or
Or
on the wheel of the car, like Formula One style shots. Like, oh yes, I love that. But
Yep.
there was a lot of quick cuts, and I sort of, couldn't make out which direction they were going,
Yep.
how far behind Batman was from Penguin. But then also, I didn't feel like Batman needed to catch Penguin because, well, a few minutes ago he was just chatting to him in the club. Like, couldn't he just, go find him in the club?
Yeah.
Like, why does he need to chase him down? And but the coloring there, it's like bright orange because of the roads lit up by
Yeah,
the
yeah.
lights. Beautiful. And
Yep.
so I'm in the middle, but go on.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this sequence. I think it's one of my favorite sequences in the movie. And the cinematography there from Greg Fraser was just incredible. That final shot in particular, where it is, the camera is sort of turned upside down. So we're looking from the Penguin's view.
Yeah.
And then Batman's just like slowly walking towards him.
Yes.
Yeah, great stuff. Really good stuff.
Unfortunately, it was in the trailer,
Yeah, yeah.
like a lot of this movie. That's a separate issue. We've already talked about it. Bloody Warner Brothers, they show that whole movie in the trailer. It's really disappointing.
Yeah.
Another scene that I really liked was the funeral scene because it's one of the rare scenes where we get to see Bruce Wayne and just Robert Pattinson just as Robert Pattinson. And I really liked the vibes there, him going and talking to Carmine Falcone.
Yep.
Just like they're just sort of like trading punches about like being reclusive, and just that whole atmosphere was really cool. Just seeing Bruce Wayne just walk around, being a bit miserable, but then looking at the child. He did the same thing when he was in the bat suit. He looked
Yep.
at the child for like 10 seconds.
Yep.
Now he's Bruce Wayne. He's looking at the child for 10 seconds again. obviously connected to the child because he lost his dad. So, yeah, I really like that scene in particular.
Yeah.
Nice atmosphere, good music as well.
I love the fact that that whole sequence where inside the church and you can hear everything that's going on outside, but it never
Yeah.
cuts to the car
Yeah,
outside.
yeah, you just hear it coming.
Yeah,
That's great. And you see the silhouette
Yeah,
of somebody at the top.
yeah, and everyone's running away while he's just standing there.
Yeah. And
Really well done.
we find out in the later portion of the film that Riddler has followers. And I think one of the followers, you know how one of the followers is, someone from the funeral is like chatting about Bruce Wayne's family. He's like, oh, you know, that renewal fund was terrible. And he's like, who, do I know you? And he's like, literally, like Bruce Wayne is like right there.
Yeah.
I think that's the guy that Pattinson lays into
At the end.
after he's taken the venom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm vengeance.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the same dude.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the other side and someone's trying to slip through the crowd and the police are like, get back in there.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a Riddler follower
Another
as
Riddler
well. So
follower.
they're just everywhere in this funeral.
Yeah.
So I don't know if at the very top, you know, when there's one dude standing
Yeah.
there, if that's the Riddler.
I
or
think
if
it would be.
I think it would be.
I think
as
it
well.
would be.
Yeah.
I'll just mention this as well before I forget. Matt Reeves, he puts a lot of detail into this, but it's so subtle that unless you like watch this movie frame by frame, you're not going to see it. There's a scene at the start. Later on, we find out where Riddler's apartment is, and it's situated
yes.
right outside the icebox. I think it is.
Yeah,
called,
the
or something.
iceberg lounge.
Yeah. So that's how we got the photos. At the start of the movie, there's like a pan away shot, and you can actually see the Riddler like
No
taking
way.
those photos.
What?
Yeah.
So what scene is this?
It's like literally right at the start where like you're going through Gotham, like it's establishing Gotham. And there's like a panned away shot, and iceberg lounge is down here,
Yeah.
and then there's a building over here, and you
can
can
see
see a window,
God, that's cool.
and you can see him.
God, that's cool.
And like, unless you look for it, you're gonna miss it because you never think Riddler's going to be there.
Yeah. It's also just so cool that he's been there the whole time. And
Yeah.
so, you know, Batman has gone to the iceberg lounge.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne has gone to the iceberg
And
lounge.
he's just up there.
It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'll show you after, but it's so cool that
That's
there's
cool.
detail.
Well,
like
actually,
that.
don't show me. I want to see that in
You wanna
try,
see it?
Try figure it out in the cinema. That would
Okay.
be cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
just-
I love details like that.
Yeah.
Good on you, Matt Reeves, for doing that.
Yeah.
In terms of another flaw that I have for this movie, is that Batman is invincible.
Mm-hmm.
He's bulletproof, and the criminals only shoot at his bulletproof
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
And look, there was a problem with this with Ben Affleck's Batman because he literally gets shot in the back of the skull at one stage, like point blank, and all he does is go, that hurts, and then he turns around and just, you know.
I mean, that would
demolishes
give you
the-
brain damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care how strong your armor is, that's knocking you out at
Yep.
the very least,
Yep.
giving you long-term brain damage.
Yep.
And he gets a bomb blown up at his face. He makes no attempt to run away from the bomb before it explodes in that funeral scene. And then he just like walks through machine gun fire like it doesn't even affect him.
Yep.
And for me, if we're trying to be realistic and grounded here, that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
I don't care whether he can wear a vest that's bulletproof, get shot and go, that hurts. If he gets shot there. But then if I was a criminal and I was shooting at him, I'd just go, while I'm shooting at him, just like aim up slightly, you know? Because then what is he going to do?
No one shoots at his cowl in this movie, and it's so clear that his cowl isn't
Isn't-
bulletproof.
yeah, just
it's
leather.
literally just leather. You can see the stitches on it.
Yeah.
And in scenes like the hallway sequence, which is amazing,
Beautiful looking sequence,
shot, when you really start to look into it, it just sucks that like one of those bullets theoretically should have hit his skull,
Yeah. And then he'd be dead.
and then he'd be dead.
Yeah.
But they just don't.
And then
about that.
my problem isn't necessarily that he's got a bulletproof suit. It's that he makes no effort to stop the thugs. He's just he's just taking
He's
it.
just walking.
Yeah, which must be very nerve-wracking for the criminals because they're like shooting him and it's doing nothing. Like, what else can they do?
Yeah.
But just aim up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I was Batman, I was being shot there, but my face wasn't protected. I would I would be hauling my ass down that hallway. I would be wanting to get those criminals and knock them out
Yeah.
very quickly, because what if they aim up a bit?
Or you can just go like the Ned Kelly route and just
Yeah, get an armored helmet
Get
or
an
something.
armored helmet.
Yeah, exactly. And then the same thing applies to Alfred at one stage. He also gets a bomb blown up in his face and doesn't really, he gets some scars from it, but Pattinson gets a bomb blown up in his face and it does nothing
happens.
at all.
Yeah,
Nothing even to
They
his
do
chin.
treat him like he's like he's got superpowers.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't. It's just Batman.
Yeah.
Anyways.
What did you think of the Batman using his wingsuit?
Oh,
jumping off that
I
building?
loved it, man. Yeah, no, I think we were both waiting for the moment where he's gonna spread his cape and fly, but he didn't. It was more like a like sort of like a. It's not a hang glider.
It's like a wings. I think it's called a wingsuit.
It's like a wingsuit.
Yeah, they do it. Like people do that.
I think he like
Nuts.
hit something on his chest, or he
Yeah, I don't
buckled
know
up
where it
something.
came from, but
But it like came over and it was like tight on him, and then he just sort of flies down. And because he's probably never used it before, he like completely like fumbles and smashes into the floor, and survives. Yeah, that's another issue. And, yeah, but no, it was a really cool moment how he punches Jim Gordon, and then we get the whole sequence where he's running up to the top.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Which is fantastic, man, because we never see Batman running. He's always
just
disappearing.
And he does do that in this movie a few times, but not as many as The Dark Knight does.
Yeah. But no, it's really cool to see like.
So that's what that feels like.
it's really cool to see like the camera track him when we're running through the police station, and it's just like a mob of like police officers just going after him.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then he gets to the top, and then he flies down, and we get this cool like first person sort of shot.
Yeah, that was a weird one where it was like on his. There was a
Face.
shot like on his face, and you could like.
It was like completely zoomed up.
Yeah. It was almost like the top of it was missing. It's like very like on his
Cut off.
forehead.
Yeah.
I didn't really vibe with that shot in particular, but like the rest of them, I'm like, yes, that's some great stuff. But I think, it was a weird choice because you can like see his face, and he like looks really weird when the camera's right there.
Yeah.
But oh well, Greg Fraser's just trying out new things.
Yeah.
I'd rather he tried something different and then it didn't work out as well than just give us like I don't know, just like shots from the buildings of him like just a CGI blur just going
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's cool. Batman takes a bomb to the face and lives. We covered that. The Riddler's plan unfolds. So Riddler knows who Batman is,
Maybe.
except he doesn't.
It's pretty good how they've left that ambiguous, and I think.
Well, I don't think he does know who he is because
it could be interpreted either way.
yeah.
Literally either way. It's so ambiguous. No one knows. Obviously he taunts him Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
Bruce
that was great.
Wayne.
Because the audience thinks that he knows who Batman is.
Yeah.
And Batman sees the security camera. He's like,
Oh God.
I'm done for here. But then he just...
And then he goes on to say he's like the one that got away or something like that. And then Bruce Wayne, and then Batman's like, hold on.
Yeah, he's like, what are you saying?
Do you know who I am?
Elaborate, please.
Yeah.
But no, very smart move
Yeah.
by just like waiting there and just...
Yep.
Yeah, that was a tense scene until I think Batman came in and sat down, and then I was like, okay, he doesn't know who Bruce Wayne is.
Yeah.
Or who Batman is.
Yeah.
But I also like how Riddler was like, I don't really care who you are. I know that Batman is your real, like that's you. That's
your
you.
identity.
I don't care about your other, like who you were before then, because that's not you. This is you. You're
This is
Batman.
you. Yeah.
Like this is how you really are, which is cool.
And I love the fact that he's saying like, he's saying you did this as well. We did this together.
Yeah,
and
that's
Batman
great.
feels like so defeated. He's like, no, I didn't cause this.
Yeah,
it's like
and he
you
did.
did this with me, Batman.
That was honestly a great twist. Probably the greatest twist in the movie. Like, I kind of expected that we were going to get, Bruce Wayne's a corrupt person. Like, he's done bad things. Like, you've seen that in Joker.
Yep.
It's not necessarily revolutionary to be like, the Waynes, they were corrupt, or, they did something bad and that led to them being murdered. Like, that's not particularly exciting.
Yep.
But what is exciting is Batman uncovering all of this stuff and then the Riddler being like, well, thanks for that. You did exactly as I asked you to, didn't
Yeah,
you? Like,
yeah.
you did it for me. And Batman's like, no, psychopath. He's like, no, we're a team. We're a team.
Yeah.
And then he has a meltdown when Batman's like, we're not a team. I'm not your friend.
Yeah. I really like the fact that this movie sort of plays out where the audience can guess along.
Yeah.
So when, you know, he does a riddle, you can think ahead and you're like, okay, what's going to happen here? El Rata Alada,
Yeah.
all of that, and how, you know, he gets URL from that, and you can sort of be Batman in this situation. You can sort of play along and figure out what's going to happen next, and then at the end you finally realize like what happens when he brings Carmine Falcone under the light. He's like, bring him out to the light.
The riddles were good. The
It's
riddles,
so cool, man.
the riddles were like in that sweet spot where if you were really concentrating and you wanted to maybe solve it yourself, you probably could, but they're also like simple enough that you could solve them, but then like interesting enough to be, you know, a bit complex.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know the answer straight away. You do have to give it
Think
a
about
little
it.
think, but
You don't want to be thinking about it because you want to be watching the movie.
exactly,
So, yeah.
exactly. And Batman figures it out very quickly, all of them
Yeah.
relatively quickly. So that's quite cool. Let's talk about Riddler's final plan then, because I feel like this movie really falls apart in its third act,
Yeah.
which is very unfortunate because a lot of superhero movies go this way. I want to draw a comparison to The Dark Knight here because the Riddler gets captured, right? Which is exactly what happens to Joker.
Yep.
The difference being Joker breaks out, has a little scuffle with Batman, and then once he's dealt with, the movie goes directly onto Harvey Dent and
Yep.
Two-Face, who we've set up. He's already out doing bad stuff. Now Batman has to go and save that.
Yep.
In this, Riddler gets taken into prison, and then Batman watches a long video where we explain that he has followers, and
Yeah.
here's his plan. He's going to blow up all of these things. Oh, what a coincidence! They're going to blow up as soon as he finishes the video.
Yeah.
And now it's underwater. Now we've got to have a big, you know, Batman's got to fight lots of people. So where are we going to get them from? Well, Riddler has followers.
Yeah.
So let's, you know, all go and just shoot random people.
It's funny that you said Joker there.
Yeah.
Because it's very similar to Joker 2019. The fact that he's gathered a crowd of people who support his motives.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you said that.
And it's like 500 followers. It's like,
Very loyal followers.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I wrote a review that said something like, the Riddler has the most loyal fan base on the internet.
Hollywood doesn't really understand the internet.
Yeah.
The internet definitely understands Hollywood,
Yeah.
but Hollywood does not have any idea, like, because it was sort of like a Twitch platform,
Yeah.
like it was almost like that, but it would have to be some sort of dark web thing because there's no way that would be able to
Air on Twitch.
be online. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, they obviously, and if you have 500 followers and you have an event, maybe like 3 of them will show up,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So this is a very dedicated.
Very dedicated
I mean,
fan
to be
base.
fair, we didn't see 500 of them. We saw maybe like 5 or 6,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know where the other ones were.
I don't know. I was kind of disappointed by the whole final plan,
Yeah,
man. Like,
same.
how
Completely running, like, did not have the pace
Yeah.
the other acts had. Completely altered.
First introduction A+.
Yeah.
Towards the end, probably like a B-ish.
Yeah.
It fell off quite dramatically. I didn't like the fact that there were these followers that were like had the same masks as the Riddler,
Yeah.
and that the Riddler was in jail, and that his followers are carrying out his plan.
And they're just like shooting people.
Yeah,
And it also brings us to this mayor who
is severely underdeveloped.
is just, I hate these sort of characters because they're plot devices. They're not actually characters.
I mean, pair that to Harvey Dent, man.
Well, pair that to the mayor in The Dark Knight, because we do see the mayor in The Dark Knight, and he doesn't get much development, but he does get a scene where he's talking to Harvey
Well,
Dent.
Harvey Dent is the new mayor.
No, he's the district attorney.
Yeah, but he goes for mayor.
Does he?
Yeah, you got the whole like
Oh,
mayor for Dent. Dent
I
for
vote for, I believe in Harvey
Yeah,
Dent.
yeah.
I thought that was for when he was running for DA, though. Regardless, there is a mayor in The Dark Knight, and it's not Harvey Dent. It's like the guy. The guy. He has like dark hair. If you look him up, you'll recognize him.
Yeah.
But he's the guy who he goes to the window, and then the dead Batman gets thrown down onto the window, and it gives you a huge jump scare.
He's quite young.
Yeah. So there is a mayor in The Dark Knight, and you do get a scene where you see that he's devoted to justice
Anthony Garcia.
and what he's doing about it. Whereas this mayor, all she does in the movie is show up to this funeral and lectures Bruce Wayne about how he's not doing anything for the city. Like, lady, us, the audience, we know that Bruce Wayne is doing something for the city.
Yeah.
So in our eyes, that makes her look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, she's just patronizing him.
Yeah.
We know that he's doing something good, and she's like, well, you're not doing anything for this city, Mr. Wayne.
Yeah.
Like, I keep trying to get in contact with you, but your people saying you're busy.
It is.
And it's like, lady, just shut up. Like, he's
I know.
Batman. We know he's Batman. I know you don't know he's Batman, but the audience knows. So why are you lecturing Batman about how he's not doing anything for this city? And then that's literally all we see of her. She goes to this rally, even though it's incredibly dangerous. She says, I'm tired of no one standing for real change. She walks out to give a speech.
Yeah.
3 seconds later, she gets
She gets
shot
shot.
with a sniper rifle.
I know.
And then she lives.
I know.
She gets shot with
know,
a sniper
I know.
rifle. And then she
Where
lives.
did she get shot? Is it in the shoulder?
It doesn't. She got shot with a sniper rifle. Like there's
Yeah.
like those bullets are huge. Like
I know.
you don't.
And there's no follow-up shots? Like, it's just the one, and then,
She just gets shot, and then
Jeffrey Wright runs out afterwards
Yeah.
to help out.
and then we see her being rescued by Batman at the end. But like this character has no substance. She's completely flat, and as for the plot is concerned, she's just the key to, she's gonna solve everything.
Yeah.
Like, bro, as far as we know, she may be corrupt as well.
Yep.
So we've
And-
got no evidence that
and-
she's
and-
actually a good leader.
Her whole name is like, it's meant to be this sort of metaphor for like real change. Like her name's Maya Real.
Oh, right.
Look, they could have dived into that a lot more and made that a lot more interesting, but the character just needs some more development
Yeah.
going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie seems to say that, because let's look at the corrupt people. We have all of those district attorneys. We have Penguin. We have Carmine. We have all of these people. The only the things they have in common is that they are white, they're male, and they're aged between, I'd say, probably 40 and 60. And then who are the good people in the story? Well, we have. I don't think we'd say that Bruce Wayne's a good person. We have maybe Alfred's a good person. We have Selena Kyle is portrayed as a good person. I don't think she is though. Jim Gordon's a good person.
Jeffrey Wright, yeah. There's a scene near the
The
end.
mayor's a good person.
The mayor. Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
as far as the movie's concerned,
Yeah.
So it seems like we're going on a bit of a sort of, we're dividing by race here.
Yeah.
And that sort of comes to fruition in when Catwoman says the white privilege line.
which is...
She's literally talking to Bruce Wayne, to Batman,
Yeah.
who, as far as she can see,
Is
is
white.
white.
Yeah.
And she just stands there and says to his face, oh, these white privilege, a-holes or whatever. It's like, lady, you're talking to a white person who's devoted himself to justice.
crime fighting.
It's like, just
doesn't make
why?
sense,
Why was that in there? It's completely irrelevant to the story.
Yeah.
It just felt like something that they put in there just to get some little
Woke.
points.
Yeah.
Points on Twitter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It just completely took me out of the movie. I'm like, hold up, whoa. Is that where we're going? Because it didn't look like that's where we were going.
Yeah.
People who are corrupt, doesn't matter what race or, gender or whatever.
Yep.
People can be corrupt. Anyone can be corrupted.
Yep.
But not as far as this movie's concerned.
There's a scene near the end where they go to arrest Carmine Falcone, and he's like, "Don't you know I've got like connections everywhere? This whole city's corrupt."
Yeah.
And they walk outside, and Jim Gordon's like, "Not everyone's corrupt." And
Yeah.
It's like a whole like the police forces are there, all the good guys, which is pretty cool.
That was a good scene. Yeah, that was good to see that there are a few people who are, not corrupt.
Yep.
But the main characters in this movie, it seems to be very divided by race, and that's kind of concerning considering these movies are, I don't want them to be tackling issues like race. Save that for your social, you know,
Indie films.
yes, well, say not necessarily indie films, but just save that for the political films. Like, give us a political film if you want to do that. But this is a Batman movie. We're concerned with Batman. If you're corrupt, you should be in jail.
Yep.
So by that logic, Selena Kyle should be in jail. Batman should be in jail. You know, but it needs to be more nuanced than just you know, you did bad things, so you should be in jail.
Yeah, it does suck that they're labeling, you know, white race 40 to 60-year-old men as being corrupt. Like,
well, there's nothing more than that. It's just like everyone who is corrupt, who gets put in jail in terms of the villains, they're either the Riddler, who's just a white young man, it looks like, and then all of the really corrupt, like the DA, the mayor, the police chief. Literally everyone who gets murdered in this movie is white male between 40 and 60. It's kind of weird, but I don't want to go on to this point any longer because I think it's just I don't know if it's a coincidence or if they're doing it intentionally, but please just don't continue that. You know, let's just have a more nuanced discussion than just, you know, white man who's middle-aged is definitely corrupt. You know, we need to throw them in jail so that this mayor who's about as flat as something that's flat is a you know, as a character. Okay, let's go then to the Joker post-credit scene. That's not a post-credit scene.
God.
Eternals man is playing Joker. He's like, God, how old is he? He'd be like 25.
He's young.
30.
He's really young.
And so he's playing Joker. So we're having a Joker again. This is a young Joker because we haven't seen that before. Because that went great last time. Remember last time we had a young Joker? How well that went for everyone?
It was not good. He's 29.
Little movie called Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
People loved that one, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a good one.
But what are your thoughts on this Joker?
I've seen Eternals, so you can't hate on me for hating on this. I don't want Joker in these movies. We've had so many Jokers. It's already been perfected by Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
We've had... I remember you saying this, and this is a really good point. We've had Joaquin Phoenix, who surprisingly, you know, he did pretty good as well. And that was a reach. So you shouldn't try to go any further. It's happened. It's a miracle. Don't try it again. Oh, man, there's so many more interesting characters to explore other than Joker. His character design does not look good. I don't think Barry Keoghan has the chops to pull off the Joker. I did not enjoy his character in Eternals at all. I thought he was terrible. Look, it's going to be so controversial, but I don't care. I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off, and if he does pull it off, well, come back here and hate on this podcast. You have the right to do so.
It would be great if he could, but goodness me, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Heath Ledger's done the character. It's perfect. That's it. We got it. Why do we need to do it again? I know that, you know, Joker is like the exact opposite of Batman, and that's like he's very crucial to the Batman story, but why now? Why do we need to do it in the very first movie to introduce Joker?
I just feel like we're recycling characters. There's so many more characters to explore, from Batman's
Court of Owls, Hush.
Like, just explore other characters, man. We don't need another Joker. In fact, we didn't need another Riddler, because we've had Riddler in so many previous films. Jim Carrey did a questionable Riddler. But explore other characters, man. Yeah. Like, you've been given the chance to do a new Batman trilogy, and you're just giving us the Joker.
They've done exactly what Batman Begins does. You know, we go this whole movie with a new character. Yeah. And then at the very end, we have the Joker tease. Yeah. But I would say that Batman Begins does it a lot better.
Yeah.
Because they're much more subtle about it.
Very
it's like,
subtle.
Okay, you know, Batman's still doing police work. Yeah. What's happening now? Well, now that Batman's, you know, come into society, the villains are going to mask up as well.
Yep.
So here we have the Joker. Oh, it's the end.
Yep.
Whereas this, it's like, it felt so much like a Marvel post-credit scene. It could literally be at the end of the movie,
my God,
after the credit scene, and it would not change anything. He doesn't add anything to the plot whatsoever. And Eternals, man, I'm sorry, I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't even know how to pronounce your name.
Barry Keoghan.
And I would love to be proven wrong and him to do a great Joker performance, but why do we have to do this again, man? Like, it's just the same thing. What, we're going to have the second movie with the Joker, and now what, third movie, is that going to have the Joker, or is the Joker going to get dealt with in the second movie? Like,
I just want new characters, man.
yeah, something different. Why are we just doing this again to repeat the same process?
I hate the character design so much. I just hate it. And I know we haven't even seen it properly, but I already hate it.
Well, that's the thing as well. They didn't even have the guts to show us properly.
I hate the laugh. Oh.
Yeah, that was very forced.
Oh, it just annoys me.
And this is what I'm saying. The Joker brings out many emotions in fans. It's a very divisive topic in terms of Jokers. You know, is it Joaquin or is it Heath or, you know, is it Jared Leto? But it's a very divisive subject, and I don't know why, you know, we need to suffer through these sort of arguments again, you know. But speaking of which, I wanted to, you know, cap off the podcast by going over a few questions. And one of the questions I had was, what was the main theme of this movie, and how did Batman's sort of character change and develop? What was the Batman message here, and is it a good message?
That's a very good question.
Because we do have the whole "I'm vengeance" or I don't want to be vengeance.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, the overarching theme. I'd have to have a think about that one. But I do think that Batman does grow as a character throughout the film. I think he sides with the people more. He becomes like a people person. He helps out. Obviously, at the end, there's a shot where you see him helping people. Yeah. That's a beautiful shot, by the way, walking with the flare.
Man of the people.
Yeah. At the end, you see him carrying like this little girl. So he's becoming like a hero now. At the start, he was more just sort of lost in his anger and his hatred.
Yeah.
And of all people of humanity, and he. Maybe love is the overarching theme here.
Yeah,
man. Like,
sort of love, hope, compassion. I don't know. That's a weird theme for a Batman movie. I'll say that. It's sort of like he became Superman at the end in terms of like, you know, I was just about beating up criminals, but I need to be a hero and I'm going to help people. You know, Batman does help people, but I don't know where they're going to take it now that he's a hopeful Batman.
I almost would have preferred it if he had just like gone full on he just dug into Edward Nash and just like absolutely brutally murdered him. Like I would have loved that.
Right.
Like he's just completely lost his mind. He's like he's throwing away Alfred. He doesn't care anymore. He's throwing away
that would be interesting.
The police force. Just become like full on brooding, just alter, just ego.
I tell you where this movie should have ended, right? We get this monologue with Something in the Way, which is, you know, the second time that song has come on, which is almost a problem in itself. I don't know why.
Give it to us once.
Why you're allowed to use the same song in the same movie twice.
Yeah.
There's a shot, we go through this monologue, he's like, you know, I was vengeance or whatever, but, you know, I need to be something more. There's this shot, he finishes his monologue, and then he finishes the shot, he finishes his monologue looking up into the camera, and it's that shot that we saw in the trailer. We saw that shot in the trailer of Batman. He's got mud on him. He's all muddy. His bat suit's all muddy. He's been helping out people. He literally tells us the theme of the movie and what he's learnt. He's staring up into the camera. The music builds. I'm like, oh, this is going to be the end.
Yep.
Then it cuts. And then we have this Selena Kyle send-off scene. And then the movie ends.
Yeah.
Selena Kyle, you know, she's a good side character, but why end the movie there?
Yeah.
You know, why this movie was made from beginning to end, it seems like at the start he's vengeance. At the end he realizes like, oh, vengeance isn't very good, which is kind of odd for Batman, but he's like, oh, you know, I need to be more than vengeance. Then you end the movie. But the problem is they showed that shot in the trailer, so I'm like, if you end that there, I'm going to be very mad because you can't show the final shot of your movie in your trailer. But then they just go through and they have this motorcycle thing where they're riding alongside each other. Then Catwoman goes left, Batman goes right. Then Batman's just driving off. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
You see some Batman mask, you know, on his face.
Yeah.
And then the music builds and then it ends. Like, Okay, so I get that Batman's going back into Gotham, like he's not finished yet. But like he's just driving off on his motorbike.
Yeah.
Like why do you end the movie there?
Don't we end with? Oh no, is this before the Penguin's like looking over the Gotham City and it's like all flooded?
That's in the monologue.
That's in the monologue. Yeah. Okay.
But the final shot of the movie is him riding off, just on his motorbike, and it's a close up of his face, and then the music just builds, and then it cuts to black.
Yeah.
Bad ending. In my opinion.
It could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the whole end of this movie wasn't as good as the first bit, which is really, really good.
I mean, think of like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, even The Dark Knight. Probably Dark Knight Rises ending was good. Man.
Yeah.
That was
All of the endings of the Nolan films were
good.
great, and
Yeah.
even now I'm a Snyder fan, but the ending to BVS wasn't good. The ending to Justice League wasn't very good. The ending to no, that's not a Batman movie. Yeah, I mean, Michael Keaton's movies are just terrible. So, is this movie too long? Here we go again with this discussion. I hate this discussion. This is like this discussion that infuriates me so much about modern fandom because I'm a big Snyder fan. And a lot of people, they see a 4-hour movie and they just inherently go, oh, well, first off, it's 4 hours, so that's not good.
Yep.
But is this movie too long? Do you feel like it should have ended earlier? Could things have been cut out? What do you reckon? It's tough. Tough discussion.
I didn't feel like I was sitting in the theater just like waiting for this to end. Like it went pretty quick. So maybe it's done that right. But they could have condensed this a lot more. Made it a lot shorter. But I don't really care. I mean, I'll take as much Batman as I can get.
Yeah, same. How does this compare to 2019's Joker? Because they're very similar movies in terms of, it's a gritty reboot. Gotham's very well stylized, and they're standalone films, and they're a bit more artsy than other comic films.
Yeah, Joker's a lot more. Joker's a lot more artsy. It understands its themes more.
Yeah, I agree.
It's more like clear cut.
It's more central. It's like more streamlined.
Yeah. It understands what it's doing more. Batman's sort of it's lost in where it wants to settle and finish. Joker's like clear from the start, and I think it's a very streamlined story. It understands where it's going, whereas maybe Batman got lost a bit along the way in terms of its overarching theme. Yeah.
Is it, a lot of people, a lot of idiots online love to degrade old movies to prop up the new movie that they think is really cool. So that's led a lot of people to say that this movie is better than The Dark Knight, which is one of the best films of all time.
Not even comic book.
Not even superhero.
I mean, it's on multiple like critically acclaimed like sites.
Yeah, it's
IMDb,
like number 4 best
on
rated.
multiple sites. It is sitting comfortably near the top with The Godfather, with Shawshank. It's up the top, man.
Is it so? The Batman, is it better than The Dark Knight? Is the hype? Those hype beasts on Twitter. They say everything's better than insert prestigious movie from 10 years ago.
Yeah, look, maybe it's just because I'm biased. The Dark Knight's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that already, people. No, it's not even close, and I think we've had a pretty good chat here. Can we just make it clear we enjoyed this movie?
I did enjoy.
We enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
But
there is a lot of issues though.
And I think maybe we're just trying to point out the issues in terms of what we want moving forward with this trilogy. I didn't even want a trilogy to start with.
Right.
I wanted a central focused Batman detective story. But they had to go the full expand the cinematic universe.
Big finale at the end, and
it seems like they're trying to reestablish the DCEU with this in terms of they're going to make new
spin-off
shows. They're going to make this a trilogy. They're probably going to have multiple trilogies going on.
Yeah. I bet the third trilogy will introduce like a Robin or a Dick Grayson or something, and then from there there'll be a trilogy of Dick Grayson or Robin movies.
I just wanted a solo Batman. Is it that hard? It's the same with Joker. Just give us one movie. One movie. I want one movie. Stop trying to capitalize on all the money you can make. Just give us a good movie, man. And Matt Reeves did a pretty good job, but it's clearly not perfect. It's not the Dark Knight the Dark Knight. Well, it's not the Dark Knight. It's so far from the Dark Knight. It's not even funny. The Dark Knight is literally like perfect on all fronts. Like
I agree.
It's an incredibly made film.
Yeah, I'm not even like it's your favorite movie. It's not my favorite movie of all time, but goodness me, every time I watch The Dark Knight, it's like you press play and then you watch the movie and then it ends and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I was completely engaged.
Every single time you watch it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's perfectly paced.
Yeah.
Music's great. Action's great. Story's great. Bruce Wayne, Batman is great. Like, it's very streamlined and it knows exactly what it's doing and it only does what it's doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't take 20 minutes to go on this, Catwoman side adventure.
Yeah.
Or, everything is just so well done. And these idiots online who like to, the recency bias to the max, I'd say.
Yeah.
They come out of a movie and they think, oh, that is so good, then insert,
Us with Godzilla vs. Kong.
They come out of the movie and straight away, it can't just be, oh, I like that movie, but, there are some things that could have been better, I think. Oh, well.
It's always straight to...
It's always, oh, this is better than that.
Better than Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be better than The Dark Knight. Because
that's the only one you should be comparing it to.
I enjoyed this movie, so therefore it must be better than The Dark Knight.
No one's saying this is better than Michael Keaton's movie. Like, why are people saying that? Why are they destroying The Dark Knight?
Yeah, why does The Dark Knight suddenly become this, like, punching bag for DC fans?
And Matt Reeves wouldn't want that. He wouldn't want that at all.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
No one wants that. Just appreciate it or depreciate it as a solo film. You don't need to compare it to another film to be able
To elevate it. That's what they do. They can't elevate a film without tearing down another one.
Yeah.
And look, man, The Dark Knight's one of the best movies of all time. So just like shut up and get on with it. Like if you like this movie, great. I like this movie too.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not set in the Dark Knight universe.
Yeah.
So why does it have to be better than the Dark Knight?
And I concede that there's elements in the Batman that I like more about that I prefer against the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like I think Gotham in this movie is
I agree.
like the perfect Gotham.
I agree.
But it's completely different from Nolan's films. Nolan was going for like realism.
Yeah.
He wants Gotham City to feel real.
Yeah.
Gotham City in this movie doesn't feel particularly real.
It just feels Batman, which is exactly, it's a different take. It's a valid take.
Completely different tone, man.
Yeah.
And to be able to compare them and say, oh my god, this is better than Dark Knight. You're wholly incorrect in saying that because you're comparing two films against one another that are completely different.
Different things. Yeah. Idiots.
And maybe that's why ranking films is so stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people like to do it. Yeah, man, look, but overall it's not better than The Dark Knight because The Dark Knight's a brilliant movie and it contains in my opinion, the best performance from anyone ever in a film. But no, Matt Reeves is like, oh, we want to do the Joker again.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think there's just a bit of frustration building up for where this is going in the future. It's clear that they wanted to establish a trilogy. There's so many setups going on. And it's just a shame that, certain movie franchises have established the fact that you need to make it a cinematic universe.
Yeah.
When it doesn't need to be that. It should have been a solo film. It's disgusting that they want to capitalize on money to the max. This could have absolutely just been an incredible movie. It could have been, it could have reached the heights of The Dark Knight. It could have changed everything.
Yeah.
If it had been a solo film.
If it stayed focused on what it was trying to do here. And that's my ultimate criticism of this film. It gets lost in what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
It has a lot of fun with the riddles and a lot of fun with the detective stuff. But you can't just do detective stuff and say, oh, that's it. That's it. That's your Batman story.
Yeah.
It's just detective stuff.
Yeah.
You have to change. You have to go on a journey with this character. Batman Begins, you go on a journey with the character. Dark Knight, you go on the journey with the character. In Dark Knight Rises, you go on a journey with the character. In this, Riddler kills some people, so then Bruce Wayne investigates, and then at the end he decides he doesn't want to be Batman. He wants to be slightly better than Batman.
Yeah.
But we only get that from 5 minutes of overall monologuing from Robert Pattinson, which is a very cheap way of, doing exposition.
Yep.
Because you haven't made the theme,
It's expedited character development.
Well,
is
yeah,
essentially what
exactly.
it is.
You're not making the theme obvious to the audience by actually the character's actions.
You're just telling them
Yeah.
the theme.
Yeah. You're just like hammering it home.
Yeah.
And it's like, we get the theme.
Well, we don't get the theme.
Well, we don't get the theme. But at the end of The Dark Knight, we definitely get the theme.
Yeah.
Same with all the
And
other
I think
Batman
that's why when you asked me that question before, you're like, what's the theme of the
of
Batman
movie.
And I'm like, I'm going to have to think about
And
that.
that's the thing that makes us care about the character throughout the entire movie. What's the journey that he's going on here? Like, where is the character going to go? Because that's what provides everything else.
Yep.
There are great elements of this movie. Gotham City, Catwoman, Penguin,
Batman.
Carmine. Yeah, even Batman himself, Alfred. Oh, brilliant. Everything is so good, but it just didn't quite come together for me in terms of a cohesive narrative that's taking us from point A to point B. It took us from point A to point 5, and did some cool stuff along the way.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
But you've got to give me some more substance there.
Parts 1 and 2? Yes. Parts 3? And...
Yeah, it fell apart in that final bit.
And they could have quite easily just taken their time, just forgot about the cinematic universe, just made a good Batman conclusion, and figured out where they were going, and they would have had an amazing film.
I do hope, though, Matt Reeves, he's going around saying, oh, Mr. Freeze would be a cool villain, Hush would be a cool villain, Court of Owls would be a cool villain. Mate, you can't have every villain in this next movie. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Does he have a plan? Because if he doesn't have the script now, we're not going to be getting the sequel in 2 years.
Yeah.
We're going to be getting it in 4 years. Yeah. And we had Batman Begins 2006, The Dark Knight 2008, and then 2012. So that's 4 years later. You got to, Matt Reeves, please, I really hope that you have the script, or at least you have a good idea of what you want to do, because at the moment, Robert Pattinson's going around saying, oh, this would be cool, that would be cool, that would be cool. And Matt Reeves is saying, oh, that'd be cool, that'd be cool. But, they don't, I hope they're just saying that.
Yeah.
And they, behind the scenes, they know the plan. And more importantly, as we've seen with the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, Batman in the first movie, Batman in the second movie, Batman in the third movie. I bloody hope that they have at least a very brief outline of where they're going to take this character.
Yep.
Because they can't just do isolated adventures like this. Otherwise, it just won't amount to anything.
Yep. When you get to the end, it won't be satisfying.
And that's the opportunity that Matt Reeves has here, because Nolan, you can see he didn't really have a vision of where he wanted to take the character. He just made the best Batman movie he could every single time.
Yep.
But Matt Reeves has the ultimate opportunity here, because he is making a Batman movie in a time where people love superhero movies and they'll go see them. This one's doing well, so the next one will do even better.
Yep.
And the one after that will do even better. That's just how it works.
Yep.
So Matt Reeves should know that he has at least 3 movies to go here, or 2 more after this. So if he doesn't plan out what he wants to do, he will be stupid, and he will suffer.
The simple matter of the fact is, he should have already planned it. We shouldn't be hearing him saying, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool.
Yeah.
You should be saying, we're doing this.
Yeah. Or just not
Or
saying
just
anything.
shutting
saying,
up.
we have a plan. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because is Joker going to be in the next one, or are they waiting to see how we react to the Joker?
He's talking about Court of Owls, Hush, with Joker. I mean, Edward Ashton's still alive. The Penguin's still alive.
Yeah.
That's like 8 villains right there.
And
It's terrifying, man. It's like Spider-Man No Way Home flashbacks. Oh,
Oh, goodness me. Okay, well, in terms of the music segment, we
let's finish it on a good note, man.
yeah. What did you think of the Michael Giacchino
Hell
score?
yeah, Michael Giacchino, you've impressed us, and
He has not redeemed himself for Spider-Man: No Way Home. He will never redeem himself.
I think he's a good composer. Like he seriously messed up with Spider-Man No Way Home. That's a huge error, man. Huge error. Like bad. But he's made some incredible scores in the past. Incredibles, Up, fantastic. I even loved his War for the Planet of the Apes stuff. I know you didn't, but I did.
I just don't remember.
You just don't remember. I would say he did a pretty good job here.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I loved all the different themes. Catwoman's theme was great.
Yeah.
Riddler's theme was good, also very different from the other themes.
Yeah.
Batman's theme, it's the first 3 notes of the Imperial March, but it was still used quite well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was used like a lot.
That's what I was gonna say. He recycles it a lot.
And so you just go home from the cinema with the 3 notes in your head. Yeah, and that's not necessarily to say that it's a good theme. It's a very simple theme that he just did over and over and over again. So are they going to do this in the next one? Because if we get 3 movies of these 3 notes, it's
Get
going to
3 Nirvana songs in the next one.
it's going to be rough with those 3 notes. You know, the brr, 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 brr. Like, I don't want to hear that for 3 movies straight. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I know we raised the point of probably don't compare, but I mean Hans Zimmer, he did establish different themes for each character. There's really no recycling going on in his stuff. Maybe a tiny bit, but very little.
Yeah, well, you still have the same Batman theme, but with Hans Zimmer's music, there's a lot of different elements to it, and it's very intricate. There are a lot of different instruments going on, so
Yeah.
he can go in and change things
Yeah,
slightly.
yeah,
Whereas this is just 3 notes.
yeah,
How are you going to change that? You can't.
yeah.
So, you know, I hope what happens. I mean, best case scenario, you just get a different composer, and you just you use the
Hans
same
Zimmer.
you use the same vibe of this score,
Yeah.
and you just create something new.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't want to hear these same notes over and over again because it'll drive me nuts watching all 3 of those movies back to back in 10 years time or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so into the rewatch playlist this week, this episode goes It's Raining Vengeance. Hallelujah. So
It's raining vengeance.
So this song plays when we're first introduced to Batman, and what an introduction it is.
Yeah, the best 10 minutes.
Yeah, the best part of the movie, for sure. So that's going into the playlist. I think, Jaden, you're going to have a detailed look at the rest of the songs.
Yeah.
Because it's tough competition. There are a lot of
It
really
is a
good
tough
songs.
competition.
And to be fair to Michael G, there are a lot
Mickey
of...
G.
There are a lot of very diverse songs. There's not just the same 3 notes over and over again. The Catwoman theme's very different. The Riddler's theme's very different. And all of these other, melodic themes are very, very good. So I'll give credit where credit is due.
There's nothing that, stands out as, oh, I remember that thing.
Right.
It's in terms of Batman, they all just sort of mesh together.
Okay.
And that's why I have to listen to it again because I
Yeah.
can't
Sure.
establish, oh, I really liked this song during the car chase sequence. I can't even remember what that was. So I have to have another listen. And maybe that's because I watched the movie a week or 2 ago.
Right. All right, let's go to some tier ranking, shall we? Who would like to go first?
You go.
Okay. Look, I'm a big fan of Batman. I love some Batman. I have very high expectations for Batman. I mean, it's the greatest superhero of all time. So you think people are allowed to have high expectations given the past Batman movies that we've gotten. My favourite Batman of all time is Ben Affleck. It remains Ben Affleck at this stage. But I'm open. I'm open to other Batman.
Yep.
I'm open to Pattinson coming into the Bruce Wayne aspect of this role because I feel like that'll really connect me to him. I desperately need some more substance to the man behind the mask here.
Yep.
And we got a good Batman story here, only just, I'd say. But I think it would be good for the sequel to delve into the more of the Bruce Wayne aspect of things. What is Bruce Wayne going to do to help Gotham City? Let's have a bit more nuance in tackling these social issues like corruption, because it had about the subtlety of a jackhammer with these race issues. So I didn't particularly enjoy that. Catwoman is obviously gone on a side quest at the moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense at this stage for her to come
Spin-off
back.
show.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they were doing. I honestly, I think Zoe Kravitz was good. I don't think she's good enough to have her back in the second and the third one, though. I think she's very, she can come in every now and then, maybe. That's just what Catwoman does. But I don't know. I don't desperately need her back again. I mean, I loved Robert Pattinson. I loved whoever played Carmine Falcone.
John Turturro.
Yeah, he was really, really good. I loved Penguin as well. Very intimidating. I loved the mob aspect of this and the Gotham City. Beautiful. I would if this was a Batman TV series, I would be so down. 10 hours of this, just Batman just solving different crimes in Gotham. Yes, I would give it to me. I would love that. So I'm very interested to revisit this universe. I hope they know what they're doing, because if they don't, they really have no excuse. They have the time to plan things now. Look, I'll watch the Penguin spin-off show. I'll watch the other spin-off shows. I like the universe. So
Yep.
look, overall in this movie, I enjoyed it. The second time, I think I enjoyed it more. But then the issues are very obvious, and there are lots of issues. So that's why I get a bit angry when people tell me this is better than the best movie, one of the best movies of all time, because it's just not. Doesn't mean that Robert Pattinson has not got the potential to be the best Batman.
It doesn't degrade
No.
this movie by
No,
any
not
means.
at all.
We
And Matt
just sort of-
Reeves... Oh,
Go
sorry,
on.
go on.
Well, I'm just saying, when people raise the point, this is better than The Dark Knight. Yeah, okay, we have to respect that opinion, but we're also going to push back against that and explain why it's not. So
Yeah.
if you're saying, oh well, that's just completely hypocritical for you to say, well, the Batman isn't better, then we're just having a bit of a pushback here.
We're outlining the issues here. We're not just sort of generalizing and saying, "Oh, the Batman's good, thus it's better than Dark Knight." We've broken down the issues there in terms of both of the movies. You can compare it, I guess. It's up to you, whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy. But don't degrade other forms of art just to uplift the one that you think is cool in the moment. Overall, I'm going to give it a B+, because I don't think it does enough to get onto that A category. And I'll revisit it. I will get it the day it comes out on 4K. I will revisit it on 4K. I might check it out in the cinema again, but I don't have a burning urge to go and see this movie again,
Yeah.
which is, considering how hyped I was for this movie, is, sort of says something in itself. But I'm very interested for the Batman too.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that trailer, and I'm going to love that trailer. And then when I get to see the movie and I see scenes that were in the trailer, I'm also going to get mad that they were in the trailer.
Yeah.
But that is the circle of life.
Don't call it the Batman 2, that's for sure.
Oh, please, yeah, what they can do? The Batman semicolon something.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
Yep.
The Batman Court of Owls. Very simple.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What'd you give it?
B+.
B+.
What is your T ranking?
Look, I think the individual elements in this film. My biggest problem is how it all comes together. I think the individual elements of this film work really, really well. I pretty much love everything about it. I love Zoe Kravitz. I love the Penguin. I love John Turturro. I love Robert Pattinson. I love Jeffrey Wright. Paul Dano. I love the music. I love the setting. Maybe it's just the story. Maybe the story is my biggest problem. I think the Riddler's final plan was just weak. I think there was it was building towards something a lot bigger than it was.
Yeah.
And that's why at the end, when we see his big plan was to flood Gotham, it just felt
It's like, what?
it just felt disappointing.
Why does that get rid of the corruption?
And the fact that he's in jail, so all of his followers are carrying out his work. It just feels like a cheap way to end it after establishing the first 2/3 of the movie as being just some of the best Batman stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
The ending just didn't land like the first stuff did, man. I was so excited at the start for the tone. I was losing my mind in the cinema.
It was great.
Those first few sequences were just incredible. Just getting introduced to Batman. I love all the detective work. I think that's just fantastic stuff. I had a great time watching this movie. Maybe that's going to change on a rewatch. Who knows? I just kind of felt let down by the fact that they wanted to establish this as a cinematic universe, that they brought in Barry Keoghan as the Joker. It just feels cheap, man. It's like you make us excited for this film that you promise, and then you deliver something else, and you go on and give us post-credit scenes, you go on and do all this stuff that the fans just don't want. We've had so many Batman trilogies, man. Why are we getting another one? Like, and it's money. It comes down to money.
Where's our Superman trilogy?
Yeah.
Why are we so concerned? I mean, I know that he's very profitable, but why are we so concerned with Batman and not, creating a decent, Deathstroke movie or, I mean, I know we've had a good Joker movie, but what's wrong with, having another great Justice League movie or a great Green Lantern movie? Or DC have so many characters, but it feels like here they're just doing the same thing that Nolan did, except with a bit more style.
Yeah, it just feels like they're trying to reach the heights of Nolan. They're trying to be the next Nolan when it's not a competition.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't really matter.
Create your own style, create your own film. Make it a single film, and maybe it might reach that impact that Nolan's films did. Don't be the next Nolan. No one's going to be the next Nolan in terms of The Dark Knight. It's its own thing. It created something wholly special, entirely special. Just don't try to replicate it now. I mean, people that made the film are saying we are going to be better.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not a competition.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that, then maybe you shouldn't be making the film. I mean, I was so incredibly excited for this film, and I loved watching it. I thought I had a great time watching it. But yeah, when you start to pick it apart, there's clear issues going on. It's not a perfect film, as many have labelled it to be. It's just clear, man. Like, there's issues. It's as simple as that.
Well, and that's the
issues
thing.
with the movie.
People come out of the cinema, and it either has to be the worst movie they've ever seen or the best movie they've ever seen. And people have come out and been more on the positive side and said, this is the best movie I've ever seen, and I personally didn't walk out of the theatre saying that.
Yeah.
I walked out of the theatre of June saying, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I really wanted to walk out of this movie saying this is the best movie I've ever seen. But, and
Oh.
I do want to stress that, because I know we've gotten a bit negative towards the end, but it's coming from a place of compassion and love for the Batman franchise.
Yeah.
We both love the Batman movies. Maybe we should do the Dark Knight soon on the podcast. It would be a good chat. But continue with your rating. Sorry.
I want to be proven wrong with the second one, by all means. I don't want the second one to flop.
It's a good starting point, I guess.
I don't want to be that negative guy who's, I hope the second one just absolutely gets destroyed at the box office. I don't want that.
Yeah. And even if it is terrible, it won't.
I want it to be better than this, man. I don't particularly like Batman Begins.
Right.
I think it's an alright origin story.
Well,
but
exactly. And people might look at this in 10 years' time and go, well, it was an alright start, but that second and that third one were really good.
So maybe he's going to just go all out on the second one. Maybe he's trying to meticulously recreate the steps that Nolan did.
Was his first part? I mean, you think he's done 2 movies about monkeys, and he's done he's done 2 horror movies. He hasn't done a lot of movies, to be fair.
Yeah.
He's done 4 movies.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is just, for a first attempt, it's pretty damn good. Like,
I'd say I like War for the Planet of the Apes more
than this movie.
Yeah. It's more
That was his
established.
second movie, so
Yeah.
doing the ape stuff.
Yeah,
So.
he knew what he was doing with that. This just feels very muddled in terms
Yeah.
of where it's trying to go.
Sure.
Yeah, look, I know we've been wholly negative about it, but
We started off very positive.
it's because we pick apart movies chronologically. So
Yeah.
we start and then we move through the movie and then we finish, and obviously the end wasn't the best part as we've raised. So that's why we're being negative about it. But yeah, we had a good time watching this.
Yeah,
We
for
thought
sure.
it was great. You should definitely go watch it, as you know, it's a seriously good film. It does some fantastic stuff. It's just it kind of fell apart at the end, which is unfortunate. Thank God The Dark Knight still stands as my favourite. I'm
Yes.
joking. But it is still my favourite. Yeah, look, maybe I was a bit disappointed just talking about it. Maybe I should go rewatch it. Of course, I'm going to rewatch it.
We'll come along.
Yeah, you'll come along. Look, I'll give it an A-, just because I had fun with
Yeah.
it still. But and there's elements of it that are good, that are really good. It fell apart in the end.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Alrighty, so when will we revisit this universe? Only time will tell. Let's hope it's not too long. Let's hope they get moving, because I would like to see more.
Yep.
From Robert Pattinson. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Rewatch Podcast. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at the Rewatch Pod. And if you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search The Rewatch on YouTube. We just said that we might tackle The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I would like to do that this season.
Episode 2.
Maybe, perhaps.
But we have to do the whole trilogy. So
Yeah, I mean...
maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be happy to just jump into The Dark Knight and
Dark
jump
Knight.
out, you know.
Would it be wholly stupid to do The Dark Knight on the next episode?
I mean, we can do it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'll say
Maybe we
that.
should do Mamma Mia.
Maybe. I'm always open to do Mamma Mia. You know, in terms of the best movies of all time,
Yeah.
you know, The Dark Knight's up there, but it's no Mamma Mia, let's be honest. I mean, you know,
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. Oh, I did forget about Power Rangers.
We're never doing Power Rangers. I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not happening.
Which one, though? What about that first one with Ivan Ooze controlling the parents?
I would actually be down to do that.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Lock it in.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and bye for now.
See ya.